Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 513 Sports Attack.
I'm Nick, and back with me here in the great state of Ohio, Cory.
What's going on?
How you doing, man?
Feels good to be home in Cincinnati from a long drive, but, I'm glad to be back in studio.
Definitely. Well, a lot's happened since you've been actually back. We're now entering the NFL free agency. The biggest name out there is Tom Brady. Where possible landing spots for him? What's your vision?
So I've really got my eye on three teams that I think are definitely in the running here. Some teams have kind of dropped out. Obviously I always thought Oakland was a spot, but we've kind of seen them kind of go the other direction there. But one team I've got my eye on is obviously that's been a lot of talk saying they're going all in is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Thinking, obviously, I think from their standpoint, I think it's a really smart move. Jameis Winston is still a young quarterback. He is still your quarterback, and that could diminish. However, you've got a chance to have the GOAT on your team. I don't think there's any question there. The other team I think that you've kind of got to watch out for.
Well, hold on a second.
Sure.
Speaking about the Bucs, I mean, they have the negative for Brady there. That the only problem I see with their offense is their offensive line. Their offensive line struggles in protection. They don't even give Jameis a lot of time to throw, let alone a non-mobile quarterback. They don't. Not a strong running game to lean on, but he never really had a strong running game. All of his were by committees. Tom Brady's were, but they do have a young defense. But the positives for the Buccaneers is they have two 1,000-yard receivers, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So they do have a legitimate big tight end threat in O.J. Howard. So speaking offensively, for the Bucs, if you're going to want to land Tom Brady, what I would do is give him what he wants, that $15 to $20 million a year. Don't go spending a lot of money on him. Beef up your offensive line. Get him some protection because you're off, and maybe get some defensive help in the draft. But you're going to want to protect him if you get him because he's an old man now. He's not the young Tom Brady that could take a lot of hits.
Well, and obviously Tom Brady obviously does have some demands as well, and that's going to kind of factor in to who's going to sign him. Obviously, the next team that I think has a legitimate shot outside of the Patriots, this is obviously outside of the Patriots, is the Los Angeles Chargers. You might disagree, but you look at it, they've got a lot of talent all over the field on offense. They could give Tom Brady what he wants. They can pay him. They can also let him be and make decisions on the play calling side, which is something that he's stated that he wants to do. And obviously he wants control over the roster, which I'm not sure there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to want to give that to him. But I think the Chargers make sense. They dropped Phillip Rivers. They might be looking more on the younger side, trying to maybe get a young quarterback, but I think Tom Brady would make sense there.
To me, it doesn't make sense on Tom Brady's end. Because for this reason alone, their offensive line is horrible. Their offensive line is so bad. Their offensive weapons are good, but Phillip Rivers barely had time to throw this year. They still have a very young defense that's not producing the way they would hope with Joey Bosa on the team, their star defensive end. But the only way, if I was Tom Brady, I would go to the Chargers if there was a commitment for them to beef up the offensive line going into next year, like getting top free agents and stuff for their offensive linemen, and then also re-signing Melvin Gordon because he'll need a strong running game. And that'll be the first one he had in his career with the Pro Bowl running back. Like, that could win you a Super Bowl, but you're going to have to give him protection. Another downside, though, that the Chargers would have, Cory, with signing Brady is they would have to release Hunter Henry. They wouldn't be able to re-sign their big tight end. And we know that's Brady's bread and butter.
Yeah, but I think the chances, if you're a Charger fan, is you have to really look at it and you say, well, Tom Brady's won a Super Bowl with less. We're giving him a lot of talent, and I think that's the argument you make.
Yeah, but he's always had a dominant pass catching tight end. He's always had a downfield threat. You know what I mean? Like, Tom Brady's always had talent around him. Maybe not the top talent, but he's had guys that worked in that system. So that's my only issue. And the Chargers don't have a lot of cap space left. If they pay Tom Brady what they're going to assume to offer would be $32 million a year, that's not going to leave them with much cap space left to go out there and get the protection that they would need to make sure he doesn't get sacked all the time, doesn't take too many unnecessary hits and get injured. But I'll tell you what, the team that makes sense to me the most for Tom Brady to go to is the Tennessee Titans. Old teammate as the head coach. They've won a Super Bowl together. They don't have necessarily the Pro Bowl. They don't have necessarily, the Pro Bowl receivers that the other teams, do have. The Titans don't, A.J. Brown and Humphreys, but what they do have though is a solid offensive line. They have a good defense. And they have a great running game that Tom Brady can rely on as well. So if I was the Titans, I would heavily pursue him. He could definitely take you over the hump, even though Tannehill did take you to the AFC Championship game. But the part that you can never replace is if you bring in Tom Brady, he can then pass on his knowledge to Ryan Tannehill. For the future once Tom Brady's done. And I think that, that player connection that Vrabel and Tom Brady share could be a real key factor in him going to Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, obviously being former Patriot, obviously, I don't see Tennessee being the right fit. Yes, lots of talent around him, and it possibly could be. But, you have to look from a Tennessee standpoint. From Tom Brady's standpoint, makes complete sense. But if you're Tennessee, you got to the AFC Championship game with Ryan Tannehill. If you bring in Tom Brady, you've already basically said it's the end of the Mariota era, okay? And so if that's the end of the Mariota era, that's fine. But Ryan Tannehill just led you. You did not expect that to happen, and you're going to take away that from him, take the starting job away from him to give to Tom Brady. Now, yes, you're right. He could learn some things from Tom Brady, of course. However, it's Ryan Tannehill's team, and I don't think it's going anywhere else.
Well, I mean, but if Derrick Henry didn't have the games he had, I personally don't think that the Titans would have gotten that far in the playoffs. That's just my personal opinion, though.
I mean, but I mean, you could say that. I mean, you could say that about a lot of things.
Yeah, but Ryan Tannehill threw the ball 7 times, so it wasn't like him going out there and winning football games. That's what Tom Brady would bring, and he could teach Ryan Tannehill the things that he doesn't know because he went to one of the worst franchises in all of football, the Dolphins. You know what I'm saying? Like, I actually think it makes perfect sense for Tom Brady to end up there. I do see where you're coming from, but I just think it is really the perfect fit.
Yeah, another team that I've kind of got my eye on. Obviously, it's the team we all think he'll probably go and stay with, the New England Patriots. I think that's obviously the last spot for him. Obviously, not too much to say. Obviously, there's pros and cons. I think the Patriots are going to be the franchise that would give him the ability to have some control over the roster. I also think there's a reason Josh McDaniels doesn't leave New England. Been offered many head coaching jobs. There's a reason for that. And I think that reason is because they want to keep Tom Brady there. They know that Tom Brady and McDaniels are close and good together, and I think Tom Brady would have a little bit of control in the offense there as well. So I really think that this is pretty much the Patriots. It's really in the Patriots' court. If the Patriots give Brady what he wants, he's not going to leave.
Oh, Brady told Robert Kraft looked at Brady earlier in the offseason and said, I'll give you a $30 million a year to stay. And he looked Robert Kraft, the owner, straight in his face, Cory, and he said, pay me 15 and give me help, and I'll stay. Go out and get me a downfield threat wide receiver. Get me a big tight end. Give me some help on offense, and I'll stay. Give me some weapons out on the edges, and I'll stay. Like, if you're the Patriots, why aren't you drawing up that contract and getting these people to come? I don't understand it. But I mean, they only have $49 million in cap space, though. So you factor Brady, you signed, and all you really need. What were they missing this year? They were missing their downfield threat wide receiver, and they were missing their big tight end.
Yeah, I think they've got to get a little bit younger along the offensive line as well. I think obviously that group of guys, they have some young guys already there, but I think they've got to get more experience along the offensive line, because obviously you got to keep Tom Brady upright. No matter where he goes, he's got to stay upright. But again, I think the Patriots make the most sense, because I think obviously Tom Brady wants his own demands, and I think the Patriots, because he's been what he's done for them. And everything what he's done.
6 Super Bowls.
Right. Everything he's done for them and everything that he's done to bring the Patriots to what they are. Now, granted, obviously, that is hand in hand with Belichick. But Tom Brady is going to stay in New England, in my opinion. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to test the market. But I think at the end of the day, Robert Kraft knows that he's going to give Brady what he wants. And I think he will still be number 12 in New England next season.
Okay, so where would you go? So you already said that you would stay with the Patriots, but if outside of the Patriots, out of the 3 teams that we've mentioned, the Chargers, the Buccaneers, and the Titans, who I think everybody in the country has narrowed it down to those 3 teams, where would you personally go? If you were Tom Brady and you had to go to the Titans, the Buccaneers, or the Chargers? Again,
You've got a lot of talent on offense. I think it more so comes down to essentially if he wants to be in the AFC or the NFC, obviously. But if I was him, I would still be looking at the Chargers. I think, obviously the AFC is the AFC. Yes, the Chargers are in that tough AFC West. They are. But I think Tom Brady has enough weapons. He has, like you said, Melvin Gordon, who I think would.
Well, they would have to re-sign him.
They will, but I think it'd be I think you got to get him as a package, and I think if you get Melvin Gordon, you already have Keenan Allen, who is a top 10 receiver in the league. You've got Mike Williams, who can jump ball, deep ball threat. You've got a lot of talent. You've got a lot of talent on defense as well, and I think it brings a life into that organization as well. And the expectations go from being just mediocre and not so good to let's go win a Super Bowl. So if I was him, I would be going to the Los Angeles Chargers, and as well as obviously you get to live in Los Angeles as well.
Okay.
What about you?
I would have to go to the Titans. Just that relationship that you would have with Mike Vrabel already. There's a trust factor there, where Vrabel could really hone in on the defense, on the defensive end, and trust that Brady's going to run the offense efficiently, which he already knows he will. The only thing is Tennessee willing to go out and get the pieces that Brady needs? That would be the only thing. Are they willing to go out there? Because the A.J. Brown could be a great slot receiver. but are they willing to go out and spend money to get a deep threat guy? Are they going to be willing to go out and spend money to get a top-end tight end for Brady to throw to? That's the question mark there for Tennessee. But if I was Brady, I'd be going to Tennessee. A new lawsuit was filed this week against Michigan State and some recruiting violations that they have supposedly been accused of making. Cory, your thoughts on the matter? What does it mean for Michigan State?
Again, it's still in the beginning stages. I think it's still too early to really tell, but obviously the information that's come out about Michigan State and even D'Antonio, it's not good. And I think, again, we've kind of talked about this. What does it mean? It's bad. That's what it means. It's bad. Michigan State's in trouble. I've kind of seen and kind of heard that they're going to punish themselves hard. So the NCAA tries to maybe not come down as hard. I mean, they're going to lose a lot of scholarships. They're going to lose bowls. I don't want to go this far, but I mean, it could even be as bad as, they may not be in the Big Ten. If it's, these things are all true, everything that bad, obviously that's going to be something. Obviously, I hope it doesn't go that far, obviously. But, obviously it has to be what it is. And it's just not a good look. Obviously, I feel really bad for the Michigan State head coach. I feel bad for the Michigan State football players. They're going to be punished. It's going to be hard to recruit. It's going to be hard to get anybody in there. But, you have to look at, if you look at it from the other side, you look at what Penn State had to go through. They went through a 10-year period where they were just completely obliterated. And then, obviously, you come up. So, I mean, obviously, there's got to be some light at the end of the tunnel. But for right now, Michigan State is in trouble, and it is not a good look.
No, it's definitely not a good look for Michigan State. My thoughts are, this is what D'Antonio was retiring because of. That was my initial reaction.
Explains a lot.
This explains a lot. This also explains probably why Luke Fickell didn't take the job at Michigan State. I just think now a lot of things are coming to light, and apparently this is from like a former coach that was directed by D'Antonio to go commit these things, these violations. So very serious. The NCAA is going to do what they're going to do, like you already said, Cory. They're going to take away the scholarships. They're going to take away the postseason play. I don't think as far as if Penn State didn't get kicked out of the Big Ten for what that happened for in the death penalty, that might not happen to Michigan State in this matter.
And obviously, this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
So it really just depends. And obviously, them being kicked out of the Big Ten is absolutely the worst case. Obviously, if there are more of these that continue to just keep flowing out.
If the Pandora's box is now open, what else is going to come out? With Michigan State though, man, it hurts the Big Ten most of all. It hurts the conference with all this stuff going on. D'Antonio, I always took of him as a respectable guy. I don't know about you, Cory. I always thought he was a guy who was doing things by the books. Turns out he was not. And it just kind of makes you wonder, how, if his success was because he could only do it this way.
It's sad. It's a sad day for me because obviously, let's not forget, D'Antonio was the coach of UC. Don't
he was
forget.
A Tressel man,
right? Don't forget. Obviously. It's a sad day, obviously, because he's not the coach and these things are coming out. I always respected D'Antonio. I always thought, he was that it's go big or go home. He was never afraid to call those big plays when they were needed to jumpstart his team. For him to do this, it's very disappointing. And I don't want to say that it's all on him, because obviously, and the whole staff, because obviously you don't know. Maybe he was doing this at other places as well. We don't know, and we probably won't ever know. But, for it to come at a place like Michigan State, it's just very, very sad from someone who I respected a lot because he was the UC coach. And then obviously I was very angry at him when he left. But again, you can't be mad because he took his dream job. And the fact of the matter is it's just a sad day.
Very sad day. Another update on a story that we were covering as well. The Ohio State players, Amir Reep and his friend pleaded not guilty in court. So they will go to trial and see, where that takes them. They have, if Ryan Day is still saying they are dismissed from the team. They are still currently enrolled at the university, though. So that, that could leave that door open for them to return to the team. I think they would have to be acquitted of all charges, found out that this maybe was all a hoax and type deal for them to return. Ryan Day doesn't strike me as the individual, Cory. I don't know if he does to you to take this nonsense. He definitely does not strike me as that guy.
I don't think they're coming back. Whether they get acquitted of all the things, there's a standard. There's a standard, and you set that as a coach. And that standard, we've seen great coaches do it. It's not about sitting out, making that guy who's not the best sit out. It's when you've got guys who are going to be a starter, the star player, and they do something wrong. You do the right thing. I think it helps. It helps a lot that Ryan Day saw under Urban Meyer things like that happen, and what Urban Meyer did in those situations. That's obviously something that's going to help him. But Ryan Day does not seem like the coach. Again, acquitted of all the charges, you can talk about it maybe being back on the team. Again, it's still going to be a lot. I'm not sure they're going to suit up ever again.
I don't think they will. At least not for Ohio State. They will not be wearing. I don't personally think these two individuals will be wearing a Buckeye uniform ever. I think their time is done at Ohio State as well. So, just wanted to give you guys some recap on that. Big stories coming on right now, going into championship. We're officially in championship week. All the auto bids are being handed out this week. Which bubble teams can play their way in? In this last four out, like which teams do you think maybe if they make a run, the committee might move them into that first four in section? Give me a couple teams.
Teams. So obviously, I want to keep obviously a team I know right now that everyone's kind of looking at that's on the bubble. It's really it pains me, but one team I've got is Xavier, keeping it local. They're first four out right now, but somehow, some way, they always play their best ball in March. So I think they're going to somehow play their way in. I think they're a team that's not in right now that could play their way in. Obviously, they're not as talented as you feel like they usually are. But I think they could play their way in. And then obviously, on the other hand here, right now I would say you probably think Cincinnati is probably in. I still think they've got to win a couple games in the conference tournament. They're the one seed. They're the one seed. So you would think they're in. But the conference was not very good this year. And yes, they're 28-6, and they're deserving. Don't get me wrong; they are absolutely deserving. But I think it makes a statement to go in and play as the number one seed and go win the conference tournament, especially in Memphis, where you're going to have to face Memphis because Memphis is tough on their home. It's going to be tough in Memphis.
Oh, it's going to be very tough. And actually, thank you for bringing up Memphis, Cory, because that was my team. Looking at the first four out, Memphis is on that list. Shockingly enough, having the top recruiting class going into this year. And on that bubble, first four out, I think Memphis makes a good run in their conference tournament. I think the committee will change their minds and put them in the last four in. So maybe, not necessarily right away in the field of 64, but guaranteed a spot in the field of 64, but maybe a play-in game for them. To maybe like one of those 11-12 play-in games. That's my team to watch. Another team I think to watch as well would be Wichita State. They always seem to play well in March. So if they can make a run in their conference tournament, I think that they could play their way in as well. Okay, go ahead.
So, another team that I've just been kind of looking, that I've kind of had my eye on, is another team out of the Atlantic 10, St. Louis. Again, a team that's not super talented, but they play really well together. And I think they're a team that you could watch out for that could be a little dangerous. I think they could maybe slide their way in, maybe into one of theirs like 12 or 13 seeds and be a little dangerous as well.
No, would you put St. Louis in that category of must get a auto bid to get in?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Okay, so they would have to win their conference tournament to get in. Okay. Just some Power 5 teams, Cory, that you believe that need an auto bid to get in.
I mean, not hard to look at. North Carolina, first one, did not play well, did not have a good year. Injuries plagued them all year, but you know what? They played with Duke. Were a couple free throws, couple shots going in from beating them. Obviously, a couple missed shots maybe. North Carolina, we talked about it before. North Carolina is a dangerous team, and if they win that conference tournament, they're not in. They might not even make the NIT. They're not in. So I think they have to win, and I think they're a team to really kind of look out for. Another team I've got my eye on who
needs the auto bids.
Needs the auto bids. Bid. Okay. Let's see. Obviously, I think another one who would need, I really think who needs the automatic bid, and I'm going to go to UCLA. UCLA is right there right now. I think with at bracketology, they're right now at an 11 seed. Again, once you get above 10, it's a little wishy-washy. I love the coach Mick Cronin, obviously a Cincinnati product here. I think UCLA needs to win to ensure that spot, because I think there are a lot of teams right now that are right there, right on the bubble.
Yeah, a team that I'm looking at actually is coming out of the ACC. If they win their conference tournament, they could be that 6th team coming in, and that's NC State. They've played with their big boys in their conference. They're not a bad basketball team. Dropped 1 or 2 games for being in that top, to be actually being the 5th seed in their conference. So, they're 20-12 on the season. I like them. I really do. I like the Wolfpack. I think they're a team who definitely needs to win the conference tournament to be in. And watch out for them, because they do. If they get hot, they can play some. They play some really good basketball.
Yeah, and obviously keeping it kind of close here. Another team that's set pretty close here that's going to need to win is Indiana. I think Indiana right now they're right there, but they need to win the Big Ten, and I'm not sure they're going to, because the Big Ten it looks like it's Michigan State's to lose, but Indiana will have to play well and put some games together to be able to make it.
I know I saw him just looking at bracketology on ESPN earlier. I thought I saw him here in the field of 64.
I have them on the bubble.
Yeah,
I have them right on the bubble right now, and I think obviously with those other teams, I think obviously you always get some teams that lose that aren't supposed to, and you get a team that wins that's not supposed to be in, and they take a spot. And so I think Indiana's got to assure their spot in the tournament this year.
Definitely. Looking at it, I was just taking a look over what the projected bracket would be, and they are definitely one of those teams that definitely need to play their way in, make a nice run in the Big Ten tournament, if not win it. Even a championship game appearance, I think, for Indiana would get them into the field. Keeping it in the Big Ten, another team that I think needs to, win the conference tournament is Rutgers. They played, very good basketball down the road, but they're a team I do have on the bubble as well, because I think if they get eliminated early, they might not make it, like you said. Once you get into these higher seeds, some teams make a run in their conference tournament. You don't. You get knocked out. These last 4 in, last 4 out, next 4 in, next 4 out, those are going to fluctuate all this week based on even these lower tournaments. What if Gonzaga gets knocked out? That just took, now you have this another automatic bid, and Gonzaga's an at-large.
Right. Now, they're obviously in their championship game. Well, they've made it to the championship game, but
what
correct.
if they lose?
Correct.
But what if they lose in the championship game?
Correct.
Doesn't matter. That's an automatic bid now going to another team. Instead of what presumably would have been Gonzaga anyways. So, that's the beauty. But that's what I love about this time of the year, Core, is this time of the year, every game matters if you're on the bubble. Every game matters. So, big story came out earlier this week, Core. We're just going to transition here over to professional sports. All the major league sports teams this year are stated that they're not going to be allowing media in the locker rooms to protect the players during this the coronavirus outbreak, pandemic threat. Your thoughts on it?
I think they've got to do what they've got to do. I think that's all this is. I think this is something you've got to keep an eye on. But I think at the end of the day, you've got to protect the players. You got to protect the fans. You got to protect the players. You got to protect the game. That's how you protect the game, by protecting the players and fans. Yeah. Fans, it's sad that it's gotten to this point, but a lot of this stuff, and it's not even just professional. Obviously, with the coronavirus, they've talked. I know we've kind of talked about it a little bit today, but they've banned all fans from the tournament.
Well, not all. They will allow medical everybody who's necessary to be in the stadium to be in there. They are allowing. From the article I read, the NCAA said that they will allow 4 tickets per player. That's both of the parents and 2 siblings or 2, immediate family members to be able to attend. So there still will be people there, but like they said, it's going to be family is the only people allowed.
And I think that's obviously what it should be.
Right.
Obviously, as a family member, you are there, you're invested in it as well. So I agree with that. But, from a standpoint, I think they're doing what they have to do. It's like a punishment. It's not that at all. It's more of, this is something that's affecting our country, and this is what are the necessary steps to make sure that everyone stays safe.
100%. I don't disagree with that. Now, just speaking about not allowing media in the locker rooms as well. So, like, reporters are not going to be able to go into the locker room. They will have to wait, to do a standard press conference, I guess, after games and everything. Do you think that should actually just become a standard rule in professional sports? And even going down to the college level?
I've never liked it. Never. The only sport you used to see it back in the old days was baseball, because they have so much downtime before and after games. I don't like it. Why are you in the locker room? You don't need to be in the locker room. You can interview them after. You don't need to be in the locker room. It's a lot. Now, that does not take away the fact that if it's, the playoffs and things like that, you get that. But I've never liked it. I don't like when you pull the coaches after the second, right before the timeout in the second quarter. You pull the coach, when he's going in. You pull him right before he's about to go in and talk to his team at halftime. It's unnecessary. All of it is unnecessary.
100%.
You talk to the players and coaches after the game is over. Don't bother them before or during. End of story. That's how I feel about it.
I agree. And you know what else? I think it stops the potential harassment. A lot of females are now, sports reporters. They are now covering a lot, going into these locker rooms. Well, it stops all that from happening. You really want to protect everybody involved. What's wrong with doing the press conference that you have the players do anyways after the game, where they have to go to the podium? Why are we getting an after game in locker room press conferences and all that stuff? You're absolutely right, Corey. It is unnecessary. I've like you said, I've never personally liked it either. I thought there was no room for it. There's always you can always wait to get your interview. Let the coaches be with their team, and when they're ready to talk, they're ready to talk. That's my opinion on it.
And I also feel one last word in here about this that I kind of want to get in is some players aren't media friendly. And some players do not want to talk to the media, and they get forced to do that. It should never be forced. Should be an option. Now, obviously, this is completely different, obviously, because this is something that's a threat that could actually injure, could get people hurt.
Right, it could make them sick. No, I get you. I understand where you're coming from, but no, I agree. If a player doesn't want to go out and do a press conference, why should he? He shouldn't have to. What, so a reporter can go ask him after a loss, hey, what happened out there? How'd you guys lose this game? You know what I was like? Sometimes reporters ask stupid questions. How are you feeling after this devastating loss, Kevin Durant? How are you feeling? How the F do you think he feels? You know what I'm saying? Like, if they don't want to do like Marshawn Lynch, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Corey, who's a guy, I forget what team he plays for, but he goes up to the podium and says, I'm here because they forced me to. I forget that guy's name, but
yeah, I don't remember. But I mean, Greg Popovich is a perfect example. When they interview him, because the players, short, sweet, to the point answers. Right. We love him for it, but I mean, he doesn't like it. Doesn't need to happen. Doesn't need. Coaches, you're bred for that. You do. You have to do some of those, but before and during games, it should not be any. There's no room for it.
Oh, I agree. So all right, Corey. Well, let's give the weekend watch report. What's going on this weekend?
Lots of stuff, man. Lots of stuff here. We have got week 6 of the XFL. 6 weeks. The midway point. Obviously, you've got still they're incorporating different televisions networks, obviously, with ABC, ESPN, and Fox Sports. So on Saturday, you've got Houston at New York at 2 o'clock on ABC. And then the nightcapper at 5 o'clock, you've got St. Louis at Tampa Bay. And that's on Fox FS2, which is Fox Sports Network 2, I believe. And then on Sunday, you've got Dallas at the DC Defenders on FS1, and then at 4, and then the nightcapper at 7, you've got Los Angeles at Seattle on ESPN2. So you've got the XFL going this week. That is something that is, obviously, it's kind of shocked me. The XFL,
football.
It's fun to watch football, and it's one of those things that I'm surprised. I really am surprised with the product that it has become.
You know what my favorite aspect that they do is you get to hear what the play calls are. You get to hear what's actually going on within the game. You know what I think that's going to do is that's going to teach a lot of people about the game of football. From a young age, if you're interested, you're playing in high school, you hear that, you're like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just adds a different dynamic. What else is going on this weekend, though?
Obviously, we just talked about NCAA basketball. You've got conference championships, the ACC. You've got the Atlantic 10. You've got the Big East. You've got the Big Sky, the Big 10, the Big 12, the Big West, Conference USA, the Ivy League, the MAC. You've got them all ending. You've got them Thursday, Friday, Saturday, some Friday, Saturday, Sunday. In some cases, you'll have teams playing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
So, obviously you've got all the conference championships and the conference tournament championships. Always my favorite part because you see teams that necessarily maybe aren't deserving. Now, obviously, we've already kind of started. Obviously, we have some that are already started, as Gonzaga's already in the finals of the WAC. So, obviously, but that's, we've got a lot of that going on, a lot of conference tournaments, which we've kind of discussed a lot over the past. And then, obviously, we have the Players' Championship this weekend in golf.
That TPC Sawgrass, one of the most iconic holes in all of golf. The par 3 Island Green 17. Actually, I was watching a video today where Tommy Fleetwood in the practice round today holed it. It was a beauty. It was a beaut. He holed it. That was great. But this is a great tournament. Tiger's not playing in it, though. It sounds like he's after his President's Cup was it the President's Cup? Yeah, the President's Cup. In December, he looks like he's resting up for a very long season coming ahead. Who's your favorite to win this tournament, though?
I don't know why, but I have a feeling Rory McIlroy.
I was going to say Rory as well.
I don't know why. I don't know why. I also really like. I really like DJ I think he is going to be healthy enough to play, so I like DJ as well. But I keep coming back to Rory. He's been there. He knows what it feels like. He strikes the heck out of the ball, drives it farther. His iron game is great, and if he's got the putter working, I think he could run away with it. But other than that, I don't really have a reason why. But I think Rory McIlroy is going to win.
All right, I definitely do as well. I think Rory's going to take it home as well. All right, let's move on here to our shout-outs this week. My shout-out is going to the Atlanta Braves for the best troll ever. If you guys haven't seen the video, look it up. It's amazing. They were playing the Astros the other day, and the Atlanta Braves decided it would be awesome to play I Saw the Sign by Ace of Base during warm-ups when the Astros came out on the field. I died laughing when I saw it, so my shout-out goes to the Atlanta Braves for that. That's flipping amazing.
In my shout-out this week, I've kind of hit home. This week I've kind of stayed home, really hitting Cincinnati hard. My shout-out this week's going to John Brannon, the UC head basketball coach. For one reason and one reason only. I've been critical of him. I've said I didn't like the hire. The team started off terrible. And somehow, some way, UC wins the conference in a 3-way tie and secures the number 1 seed in the conference tournament. Not sure how he did it, but I'm starting to believe a little bit. Now I hope he can provide some good things to happen in March. So my shout-out goes to John Brannon for a job well done this year with the Bearcats. And, I hope they make a run in the tournament and continue this season and hopefully can make a little magic happen in the tournament.
Definitely. If you haven't already listened to it, please go and listen on the DB Comedy app, or the Dry Bar Comedy app. Sorry, it's called Dry Bar Comedy app. Go listen to Ricky Glorious stand-up Dad Bod. It's very funny. And hit that like button for him as well. Also, for all your Ohio State needs, check out the OHIO podcast. Great content over there for all your Ohio State football needs and Ohio State just needs in general.
Yeah, and obviously don't forget to check us out, the 513 Sports Attack, on any podcast network, including Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, iHeartRadio. We're all over there. Obviously, if you have any questions, obviously a lot of controversial happening in sports lately. Any questions, topics you'd like for us to talk about, please email us.
Want us to throw your opinion on some things?
Yeah, send us an email.
Send us an email at 513sportsattack@gmail.com.
And obviously, don't forget to check out our Facebook and Instagram pages at the 513 Sports Attack.
Thanks guys for listening. One love.